I just wanted to walk you through the different features of this new customizable dial mod I made for TTS. And basically show you what can be done, what can't be done, and why certain things were done the way they were. So once you open the mod, so when you go to games and then under your workshop, once you've subscribed to the actual mod, it should be available on your workshop row. You can just open that. And this is what you're going to see. So there are basically like four main parts of it. You'll have this tile in the middle that is basically a housing for the two parts of a dial. So the top right here and the bottom. Then you have the create dial button right here, which we won't press right now. All right, so yeah, basically let's go through just creating this dial particularly. We won't really customize anything just yet, and I'll show you the different things that you can actually do with it. So yeah, basically we can change the images for the top and the bottom portions. So you just right click on it, right, and go to custom, and then you can change the image. So as you can see, the top portion is a custom token in TTS, and then the bottom is actually custom model. And you can change the image right here of the of that model. So the model, so basically the image just needs to be your usual image that you would use for a token, that you would use for a tile within TTS, and it will appear as this. So nothing to worry about in terms of how to actually apply the image. I've made the model such that it behaves very similar to a regular tile or token within TTS. So yeah, once let's just say we've customized those images, and I'll give a few other examples later on. We'll just go through this simplest example first. We then place the two tokens in the appropriate spots, so the top and the bottom. To be honest, it doesn't really matter where you put them. But yeah, these are just some convenient places with snap points that you can place the different parts of the dial on. And then from there, you can press the create dial button to merge the two pieces together. Right, so let's just do that. And once I press this, boom. You'll see that they were basically merged, right, into one single entity. And then from there, you can click the upper right portion of the dial to move the value up. And then you can press the upper left portion to move the value down, right, which is pretty cool. So there is a delay, so you can't spam it, right, so that you can go very, very quickly, because if it were spammable, then the animation will break and you'll get in between the different values. So there is a delay, and hopefully that's going to be all right. Because yeah, the whole point of this dial is not to maximize functionality, but rather to sort of represent a physical dial as accurately as possible to modders in TTS, and to basically have it as highly customizable as possible. Right, so those were the goals when I made this this component mod. So hopefully that's all right. So I mean, if you want something that's highly functional, then I would actually recommend that you use the counter right here, which is going to be a lot easier and faster to use. But yeah, if you want something that looks prettier, maybe more thematic for your game, then this is an option that you can explore, and hopefully you will have some use for it. All right, so there are invisible buttons here that you cannot see, right? And then you can rotate it however you want. Oops, because that does have a snap point. You can rotate it however you want, and those areas within the dial will be oriented properly, and you will still be able to increment the values properly. And then, of course, the bottom portion, because, you know, the buttons are up here, the bottom portion is actually where you need to handle the dial. So of course you can't grab it from the top because the buttons are there, but you can always grab it from the bottom. All right. And then of course the other thing that needs to be mentioned about the functionality of this dial is you can adjust the rotation amount by right-clicking on the dial right here. And then you'll see that the description of that particular component has a number. So the number refers to the number of values in your dial, right? So meaning this one goes from 0 to 9. So that would mean it has 10 values. So that's why it's 10. But what if we did 5, for example, right? What if we did 5? and that'll automatically update the dial. And if you do 5, that means it's gonna skip, right, by 1. There you go. Which is pretty cool, right? So if we go back to 10, oops, 10, then it's gonna increment by 1 again. Yeah, basically I saved you the hassle of having to compute the number of degrees that the dial needs to rotate. You just need to input the number of values that are actually found in your dial. So there you go. So from there, of course, all you need to do is you can right click on it and you can save the object into your TTS. You can just Control C to copy it and paste it into an existing mod that you have. However you want to actually transport this into a mod will work. All right, so you will always have access to, you know, basically even if you save this, that's totally fine, because all you need to do is open the online version of the mod from the workshop and you'll be presented with, you know, basically the default setup for the thing, for the mod, I should say. So yeah, okay, so now that we have that done, hopefully that was a painless explanation of how to actually create your dial. Now let's go to, I guess, a more interesting part of it, which is how to actually customize the faces and stuff, right? So let's try to change the top, and I do have a few examples of faces that I can use in my desktop. So we can, okay, how about this one? Let's use this one with the carved out top. So we'll do a cloud upload, and as you can see, boom, it has a carved up top portion, and then we can just customize this as well. Just change the image into maybe this gray one. Let's just see how that goes. All right, cool. And then when we create a dial, boom, there you go. And then of course we don't have the guide anymore, right? Because we did change the top portion, but the buttons are still going to be there, and the bottom portion that you can hold is still going to function as normal. There you go. And you can flip it, of course, and there won't be any buttons here, so you can hold the bottom of the dial however you want. Then of course, if you press Alt and zoom in, it's going to be the correct orientation, no matter how much you rotate it, right? Like this. All right, cool. That's pretty sweet. All right, let's do another one just to see what else we can do. Customize this into, you can even do a square if you wanted. So this is a square. There you go. All right. And then if you create dial, there you go. It still works, even if your tile at the top is square. Pretty awesome. And then other things you can do, just to show you, you can even resize this thing as small or as big as you want. So for example, maybe we can make it smaller for whatever reason. If you attach it, it still works. It is pretty cool. All right, the button and everything will be scaled based on the top. So, you know, holding it from, you know, the bottom won't increment the values, but yeah, pretty sweet. So what else? So if you want some a dial with a window, which is typical of custom dials, there is a tip that I need to mention. So let's say, for example, this has a hole, right? Did I do that correctly? Nothing happened. Let's do that again. Okay, there we go. Okay. So you'll notice that, yeah, the window does work, all right, and that will work properly. But you notice that there is this weird gap right here at the top. So why is there a gap, you might ask? So if we just try to upload an image that doesn't have a gap, right? And I think this one without a hole right here, a gap, you'll notice that it doesn't have a hole, as you can see. Like, it's not transparent, right? So that's something that it's a quirk of TTS, that a hole, basically, or something that's transparent in your image has to connect to the outer perimeter of the image, essentially. So you can't have a transparent hole within the image. You need to connect the transparency to the edge of the image, if that makes any sense, right? So just loading it back, you'll notice that this one, if I change this again to the previous version that we had, you'll see that there's this gap, right? So I'm connecting the transparency of this hole to the edge of the image, and that's when TTS actually, what do you call this? It actually respects the transparency that way. So if you don't connect the hole with a transparent part to the edge, it won't actually see the hole. All right. So cool. One last thing, which I forgot to demonstrate. Let's change this into something with a lot more value. So for this one, I have this this example where we have 0 through 19, right? If we create a dial. So if you do a plus, right, it'll skip to 2 because we haven't said that we have 20 values in our dial. So it just thinks that there are 10. So we right click on it, we change a 10 value to a 20, to a 20, just like that, and it will increment properly that way. All right. So there you go. So hopefully that is everything you'll need. It's not perfect by any means, but I think it has the, I guess, the functionality and the customizability that I was really aiming for. So yeah, hopefully you guys have some use for it in your mods. Let me know how else I can improve on this. If you find any bugs, perhaps in this component mod, just let me know and I'll get to fixing it as soon as I can. So yeah, hopefully you enjoy it, and I'll talk to you again soon.